What's up everyone, Nathan Hamilton here. Today I'm going to show you a little bit of a trick that I use to improve my Instagram profile. It's just how you can take better pictures for Instagram. And here's why this is really important, because if you think about it, first impressions are everything with Instagram. When you are searching different hashtags or you come across somebody's profile randomly, which people will come across your profile as well, is they look at those first 9 tiles, 3 at the top, 3 in the middle, 3 at the bottom, and instantly, and someone decides, okay, I'm gonna scroll further and go deeper into your profile, or they're gonna say, okay, maybe this person's an amateur, doesn't look too appetizing, isn't easy on the eyes, doesn't have a great profile, maybe they're not that talented with photography, and they'll essentially just navigate away to a different page and leave yours alone. So as an Instagrammer or as an amateur or as a professional photographer, as anyone that likes to get more likes on Instagram, you've got to have those first 9 tiles on point. And there's some easy tricks that you can do, taking pictures with an iPhone, whether you've got a professional setup. It's just a matter of giving that one extra little bit of effort to make your profile stand out. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. Here's why this is important. So if we're to look at some easy things you can do, essentially plotting it out, looking at it on an XYZ scale, essentially the Y-axis here, X-axis here, you've got the things down here. If you look at effort and impact, and that's a matter of making your Instagram profile stand out. Impact here, and ultimately what we want are the lowest effort, highest impact things, something that sits in here. But what we're looking at is just easy ways for everyday people to improve their pictures and edit them better for Instagram. And ultimately, that's going to be something that's a little bit of effort, but has some good impact. So the easy way to get your Instagram profile up to a better position and make it more enticing, easy on the eye, as I mentioned before, is to use a program called Snapseed. And what this allows you to do is essentially edit pictures on your iPhone or on your iPad, and then you can upload them to Instagram. And the reason why Snapseed is such an awesome piece of software, an awesome app, is because it's so easy to use and very powerful. Essentially anyone can do it. So I'm going to show you a couple tips that I use to improve the pictures. I got this picture that was taken in Thailand. I went there this past November. What I want to convey is, how green Thailand is, how nice the weather is, kind of a happy, nice feeling. And looking at it, there's some good saturation to this photograph, but it could use some editing. I'm going to show you exactly how powerful Snapseed is. And to compare it, here's a picture of the original, and here is the edited version. I'm going to show you how to edit it to get this version so that your pictures can also be amped up as well. Images, a few things I like and don't like. I like the green in here. I like the subject matter in the front here. What I don't like is the clouds are kind of overexposed. You don't see much detail. And as you also look in the upper left corner and the upper right corner, the sky is actually a different color. It's a lot lighter here, so we're going to fix that. This here is very dark compared to everything else, as is the shadow down here. So we're going to fix that. And we're also going to remove this information that's on the back of this wagon. Let's start off here. You go to the bottom right corner, click on this, and that brings up a bunch of options of different edits you can make. The number one thing that I do all the time is I go to tune image first, and all you have to do to cycle through the various options is hold down on the screen. You'll see brightness, contrast, saturation, ambience, highlights, shadows, and warmth. I'm not going to touch upon each one here, but just a few that are relevant for this photo. And that would be first going to saturation. As I mentioned, I want to bump up the colors a little bit. So these greens and these greens, the blues, green and the reds pop a little bit more. So just slide to the right until it looks about right for your eye. There's really no set way to do it or anything that I would suggest, but I would say small changes are better than very large changes. You can see that doesn't look very natural when we bump up the saturation. So looking at it here, let's see, that looks about right. And then from there, the highlights. And what highlights are going to fix are essentially the opposites of the shadows. So in the clouds, it's just going to bring more detail. And if you look very closely, we'll zoom in here at what happens when we slide the highlights. You can see when we add, it essentially blows out everything and you don't see any detail. But as we drop it down, you're going to see that there's a lot more detail in the clouds. And if we go back and sort of revert our changes, you can see the difference between the photo when adding the highlights. And I'm actually going to bump down the highlights quite a bit. That looks about right, just testing it there. I also mentioned that the shadows, anything that's going to have a shadow, be it here, be it the shadow from the wagon, is going to be reduced. And what you can do is drop the shadows down. That's going to make it darker. I'm actually going to move it up a little bit to reduce the shadows. And then you can compare. Okay, I like that. There's a little bit more detail there. And then warmth, you can touch that. You can adjust that if you want, but what it's going to do is essentially add more orange to the photo or more blues to the photo. I actually think it's good where it is, so we're gonna leave it at 0. So you can see, as I mentioned before, you can look at your previous changes. Okay, let's go ahead and save it. Now the next thing I'd look into is this healing, and that's going to help us remove different parts of the photo. And you can see as I go in here, you just swipe over it. That's not a great job for this specific instance, but it does work and remove objects within the picture. And if you zoom in, you can kind of start to work it and remove all the details. And this is a really cool feature. You can essentially remove people from a photo if you want. And that worked fairly well. You know, you see there's some small issues there. Just go over it again, brush over it, zoom out, look at the changes there. You can see it's easy to remove all the details. And I found if you've got really detailed stuff like this within a picture, you have to zoom in. Otherwise, if you do it while zoomed out, the changes don't translate that well. As you can see there, it didn't work well. So just undo it and try again. Let's see if we can do a better job this time. Okay, I like that. And then the smaller writing here will fix as well, so zoom in a bit. That did a really good job. Perfect. So go ahead and zoom out again, and you can see those changes. That's so awesome. I love this part of Snapseed. Super powerful. Now another thing I mentioned is the sky is a little bit brighter here than it is over on the side here, so we can fix that by evening it out. And what we do is we select the selective tool. And all you have to do is pick the part of the picture and throw a little bead on there and then adjust it, and you can see the red is where the changes are going to be made. And similarly, you can just hold and scroll up and down to see the various options. I'm going to reduce the brightness a bit just to even out the color in the sky, and I'm actually going to increase the saturation just a little bit to match it up well. As you can see there, it looks good enough, changes are good. And also on the back of this wagon here, it's a bit darker than everything else around, so I want to bump up that brightness. And you can see the selective tool automatically selects anything similar to where you place that little bead. So you can adjust it there, and perfect. What we're going to do is bring up the brightness so it kind of matches where it is on the right side. See how that looks? Okay, looks fairly good. Now one thing I'll also want to fix, and this is just getting a little nitpicky here, but if you look, the greens over here are a little bit different than what the greens are over here. This has a bit more saturation, this has less saturation. So what we'll do is go into selective again, throw down a bead, swipe up to get saturation as an option, then fix the sizing, that looks about right, and just bump up the saturation just a little bit until it looks pretty similar. So there you are, that is the final photo. You can see we've got more detail in the clouds, we've got an even sky, it's more saturated, it shows how green Thailand is. The back of this wagon, which is really the focus of the picture, is fixed quite a bit. The shadows are reduced, it's just a brighter image altogether. This just takes a couple minutes at most, and it's something I think which is actually pretty fun to do. And you can see the dramatic difference between the photos, and obviously when you put this up on your profile, it's going to get more likes. It's a good image all around, and it's definitely something that you can do for every single one of your Instagram images, and it's going to make that profile pop. Double tap like. I'm gonna heart this thing. So there you have it, guys and girls. That's my little tutorial on how to use Snapseed. I hope you find it useful. If you have questions, go ahead and throw them in the comments. We'd be happy to answer any questions you have. But really, as you can see, it's a really powerful program, and playing around with it is probably the best next step from here. And you'll see over time you get better at tweaking your photos. You get the right saturation, you get the right contrast, you see all these weird areas in the picture that you can fix. You can pretty much do it on your phone within Snapseed. So hope you guys have enjoyed the tutorial. Please give this video a thumbs up. It helps more people see the video. If you feel free to share it, it also helps more people see this tutorial. And thanks for listening, guys.